So it's been a while since I did one of these vlog episodes. Did you notice? I did. I kept thinking, that thing that I did for all those months, that vlogging, I really need to get back to it because a lot has happened in my life and I need to chronicle it. But I was kind of waiting until I had done enough processing of the things I needed to chronicle so that I could chronicle them. I needed to integrate and process and do all of those internal things before I could do the external expose of a fairly significant chapter of my life. And I needed to do that internal processing. So processing, how many S's can I stick in there? That internal processing so that I could make it more universally applicable. Because I don't want this just to be the, hey, let me expose my life for no purpose other than exhibition. So yeah, I want what I have to share to make a difference in the lives of others. So where should I begin? Where do I start? I was born a poor Black child to take another beginning of another movie. And we'll see whether or not I actually make this public. I don't know. I don't know whether I will go that far. I am a relationship-centric being. Whatever the personality indicator is that I take, whether it's my astrological sign, the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, you name it, what comes up is that I am a very relationship-centric being. Now, I seem to personally need nearly equal components of solitude and connection. If I get too much solitude, it turns into isolation and I get, well, psychopathic. Not exactly, but close. And if I get too much connection, I get smothered and cranky. The trick here for me is to want that which I am currently having rather than always longing for that which I don't have. Yeah. So I have been in some significant relationships in my life. I spent 25 years in a marriage in which I birthed 8 children. And I've come to discover that that was my starter marriage, starter relationship. Now, you can't know going in that it's a starter relationship. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You have to think this is till death do us part. I mean, for the long haul, you don't go in thinking, yeah, this will do me for a decade or two, and then I'll exit stage left or right, depending. No, you go into it believing you're in it for the long haul, bury me in the backyard, that kind of thing. So I did that. Now, I was 25 when I went in, and I was 48 when I chose to leave, almost 49. And that's a long time. That's a long time to spend with one person. And the idea of a starter marriage is you get to work out all of those unresolved issues that happened in your early childhood that you didn't get to resolve then because you were too little to be able to do anything about them. So you replicate that dynamic as an adult in a relationship with someone who reminds you of either one or both of your parents, and you work out all of that stuff together because it's a mutual thing. You're attracting each other because you have matching baggage. And you work out your issues and you resolve them as an adult in the way that you couldn't when you were a child. And sometimes that marriage becomes your keeper marriage because you both grow together mutually and you go the distance, you go the decades, and you grow old together. And it's a beautiful, lovely thing. And some other times what ends up happening is one of you will grow and the other one won't, or you grow in opposite directions and you can no longer do that thing together and you go your separate ways. but not both of you necessarily see it that way. So other people will think that your relationship didn't work because it didn't last, because apparently the only criteria for working is to go all the way till death do you part. But if it actually expired because the two of you did all of the things you came to do within this starter marriage and you each go your separate way, it actually worked. And we can let ourselves off the hook of that thing being only valid if it went till death do us part. And it doesn't make any sense to take a thing that has expired and taxiderm that thing and prop it up in the living room and make your children and yourselves and all of your friends and family come and pay homage to the dead taxidermed thing in the living room. It makes more sense to celebrate this worked. It did its work, it's beautiful, it's resolved, it's expired, and the most loving thing to do now is to let it go. We don't seem to have come far enough in our culture to allow that to be a thing, to have a benevolent breakup or a benevolent divorce. So that was part of my previous life, but I wanted to set the stage. After that, I had a series of getting to know myself as an adult in my 40s relationships, and there was a lot of ground to cover. I had been fairly squelched and dominated, and I was pretty much a dependent for the first several decades of my life. The learning curve was steep. I had to learn things at age 48, 49, 50 that many people are learning at 18, 19, 20. And so I had to overcome the learning curve and the shame about asking questions like, how do you do laundry? How do you balance a checkbook? And what does it take to put air in your tires? Oh, and taxes. I don't know who invented the taxation system, but they should not be allowed to invent anything else, if you know what I mean. Yeah, we haven't invented a very user-friendly system for the humans who are in it, which is weird because the humans are the ones in it. But anyway, that's an entire different digression. So I'll try to stick with the topic at hand, which is what happened to me in the last 10-ish months. I had a second significant relationship in my life that had longevity. And that one was for 7 years. And I also married him. And we did a whole lot of deep, transcendental, progressive, transitional practices. A lot of growing happened in those years. And there came a time when we needed to part ways, even though there was still a lot of love between us. And we were not at odds with each other, and yet we needed to part ways for a particular reason, perhaps just a particular time. Jury's out, but we parted ways, and that happened last June 1st, to be precise. And then a funny thing happened on June 1st. You see, backing up a few months, shortly, well, let's say February, March of 2020, when we were just starting to get the idea that things were not normal, that something big was about to go down, that there was this virus going around that wasn't going to be just another H1N1 swine flu, bird flu, whatever flu. This one had a little more heft and girth to it. Yeah. So just before that, I made this list, this long list of what I wanted in a partner and in a partnership, because some of my needs were not being met in that partnership. And I didn't put a face or a name to the list. I was hoping that my then partner would rise up to meet those needs, or conversely, that would fall by the wayside and somebody else would rise up to meet those needs. And I spared no detail in the making of this list. And then I ended up doing this kind of inadvertent witchy thing, which is to take the thing that you did, the spell that you cast, however you want to look at it, the intention that you set, and push it aside, bury it in the backyard, put it away, hide it, flush it down the toilet, whatever your thing is, and let nature, life, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it, orchestrate the fulfillment of this intention. And because COVID hit hard and fast, all of that just kind of got set by the side, and I forgot about it, and I got busy trying to survive and trying to make a living and all of those things, and then having marriage counseling, and we ended up ending that relationship. And on the day that that relationship ended, somebody else loomed up, somebody I'd known peripherally for a while. And this person, this gentleman, came on hard and heavy, fast and furious. I mean, it was like bam. And it's like he read that list and embodied it. The only thing is, I had not made that list public. So here he is describing to me all of the things that I had already said that I wanted in a partner, in a partnership. Within 4 days, he was telling me this was significant. Within a week, he was telling me he thought I was his twin flame. I was once in a lifetime. I was the one he had always looked for. I was the one he had waited for all this time. Within 2 weeks, he was telling me he loved me. Within 3 weeks, he was telling me we needed to meet. Only I had to wrap up the previous relationship. So I did this thing, conscious uncoupling, at his request. We resolved that relationship. I moved out of where I was living before. I moved into this place I'm in now. And this man and I agreed to meet. Only 2 days before we were to meet. And this was after we built this life we were going to share together. He was going to move in with me. We were going to collaborate. We were going to create amazing things and workshops, the masculine and the feminine. We're going to cross-pollinate, and we were going to create this amazing, magical, wonderful thing, because this, between he and I, was twin flame, once in a lifetime, what we both been waiting for all our lives. Yeah, I know you're seeing red flags right now. I wasn't at the time. I was extremely, extremely vulnerable to this kind of, shall we say, love bombing. And I dove in head first. Absolutely. So 2 days before he was to fly here, I mean, I had my dress that he helped pick me out hanging in the shower area so it could get all unwrinkled and ready to go. I had it doused with perfume. I had my shoes picked out. I had shaved everything. I was ready for this. 2 days before he was to come, he let me know he wasn't coming. A week after that, he went into the proverbial cave. Now, this is where someone who was not as vulnerable, someone who had not made such a list, someone who perhaps had had some of these red flags start to percolate to the surface would have said, hell no, I'm not sticking around for this. But if you've been told by this person that this is a once in a lifetime twin flame scenario, then what this means is that person just ran, and the runner scenario is classic within the twin flame storyline. So I stood vigil outside that proverbial cave for 6 long, hard, dark months. I stood vigil. I was loyal. I was vigilant. I was brave. I was strong. I did all those things. And every so often he would come out and throw me a breadcrumb, you know, and I would capture that breadcrumb and I would make a feast out of it. I thought I was being strong. I thought I was being valiant. I thought I was being oh so brave. Standing outside the cave, assuring him that he was so much better than the lament he was giving me about himself, reminding him of who I thought he was. So the 6 long, hard, and dark months passed. And finally, there came the day when he suggested I fly to meet him. and we could take this journey to the next level. And it was everything I thought I had waited for. I was ecstatic. I was excited. I did all the things. I prepared, I packed, I shaved everything again, because, you know, you have to do that with some maintenance. I got everything ready to go meet him. I flew to meet him. And there's something I discovered. There's something I discovered. When a relationship is safeguarded, protected, cornered in with all of these security measures so that nothing and no one can threaten it. It's not just that you have high boundaries that create these wild rapids, which was the story. What actually happens is when there's too much safety, too much security, too much certainty, there is entirely too little passion. There was no passion. While I was there, he let me know that he wasn't ready for a relationship. Now, I had flown there. I had loaned him money so that this trip, this relocation could occur. And he's letting me know he's not ready for a relationship. Nothing wrong with me, he assured me repeatedly. I am, let me quote, so much more wonderful in person than he had possibly fathomed I could have ever been. But he wasn't ready for a relationship. Now, to be honest, at that moment, because there had been a lack of passion and there had been a lack of chemistry and all of those things, but I was willing to give it a chance. I was willing for passion to come out. I was willing for it to somehow work, because 10 months, come on, I had an investment here. But I did feel, honestly, along with disillusionment and a little bit of grief, what I felt though was also some considerable relief. So I came home and we had a breakup Zoom call. I had to be the one to say, oh, it's over. I had to be the one to say goodbye. He wouldn't even look up off the floor. Even this final moment of this supposed meaningful once in a lifetime twin flame connection, you would think there could be eye contact made at the end so that the ending would at least honor the almost entire year that preceded this. But no, I had to be the one to reach out and go, okay, then, goodbye. I guess we're not talking anymore. I cried for about 20 minutes. I reached out to some friends, including my former partner, who had been steadfastly supportive of me throughout this time as a friend. And the next day after the breakup call, I found out that he was connecting with my best friend, telling her that he thought she was a once in a lifetime twin flame connection for whom he had waited for a lifetime. Now, she wasn't as vulnerable as I had been. And I mean, did he think we weren't going to compare notes? That would have been interesting for him to think that women don't talk. We compared notes for a while. It seemed as though there was a script that was followed. And one woman was plugged in and then unplugged, and another woman was plugged in. And recently I found out that he's found another one. I don't know how many once in a lifetime connections a man can have in a lifetime. Yeah, but it happens. And what I've come to learn about this for myself, because ultimately I have to take responsibility for the fact that I entered into this voluntarily. I'm not a victim here. I'm complicit in this. I entered into this voluntarily, and I stayed in this voluntarily for my own, perhaps subversive, kinky shadow reasons that I'm still unpacking. I'm going to get every little bit of lesson learning I can out of this thing. I'm going to get maximum growth out of this thing. No stone shall be left unturned in the resolution of what the hell was I doing this whole time. And I don't know now what I would have kept myself from doing otherwise. Who knows? Maybe I learned that I can be in isolation and survive it. There is at least that. I know what I can get through. But I know I'm not alone in falling for this kind of thing. And I'm not even saying there isn't the possibility of a twin flame soul contracted relationship connection being a real and valid thing. I've studied what Plato wrote about this. I don't ascribe to the light and fluffy version of that whole thing, but it seems to me there is a type of predatory, how do I put this? There's a type of emotional predatoriness, predation, there we go. Emotional predation that goes on when someone totally buys into this concept and makes this their life's purpose and doesn't seem to have the levels of developmental growth that go into realizing a connection. So it's like limerence hit after limerence hit, dopamine hits, an addiction to the initial falling in love, limerence, new relationship energy, shiny thing that is stinking addictive. I mean, talk about being high on your own drugs, your own chemicals. And it's really important, I believe, for each of us, whether we're pursuing that, initiating that, causing that, or falling for that, to recognize when it's happening without shame, but recognizing the impetus that's needed here for growth and development as a person, as a species. And I'm not going to say I've come to the end all be all of this. I'm working with 2 therapists a week to figure out, what's this all about? Why was I prone to this? What part of me needed to experience this and why? And how can I learn and grow from this so that I don't fall for this again? Because I've been around the block, y'all. This is not like a whole new thing. I've done a lot of dating. I've had a lot of relationships, both significant and incidental. And I take full responsibility for this. Again, I'm not a victim of anything nor of anyone. There's a part of me that wanted to have this experience for reasons that I'm still unpacking, and I'll continue to. So this is going to kind of be a let's be continued version of this blog, because I haven't arrived at all of the awareness yet. And I'm going to watch through this and make sure that I do want to share this and that it's time. It may not yet be time. If you've experienced something like this, if you know what I'm talking about, go ahead and go down there to the comment section and say something. There could be more of a conversation to be had here. So join it, share what you've got, share your experience, your wealth of wisdom, what you've unpacked. I'd like to know. So there we go. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. The conversation shall be continued. Bye.